You guys probably wondering, what's going on with the scarf? Marie's still having a bad hair day, okay? So we're partially tomboy Ray because she got on eyeliner today, so we look halfway decent, okay? So bear with her, love her, cherish her, be with her, love her, okay?
Yeah, we get it in, I don't know about you. Go to my neck, go to my wrist too. Yeah, you know we deep, so you gotta let us through. 'Cause they love us, we turn to trouble, girl. Let me see what you.
What's up, Ray Gang? It's your girl right here to brighten your day with another reaction video. Today we are watching, I don't know why I am watching this. Oh. But we are watching Mr. Nightmare 3 True Mansion Horror Stories. Why they gotta be true? In the spirit of October, in the spirit of Halloween, I decided to wear my handy dandy beats. Don't know why I'm doing this because I really don't like scary, but I'm doing this for you guys because surprisingly, you guys actually did like the last Mr. Nightmare video that I did do. But I'm gonna need you guys to, you know, thumb up that one a lot more because it was funny, because it scared me. It wasn't that scary, but I feel like because like this one looked real and the last one was animated, so I don't know how I'm finna feel. Nothing better pop out at me, I promise to God, because someone told me to watch this and I'm really scared. But it's okay, because you know what, I'm a G. Marie ain't no punk, a little bit on the inside, but that's okay. But before we can get into the video, let's get into these post notification shout outs, okay? Today's post notification shout out goes to Cameron Brown. Thank you so much for joining the Ray Gang, and I love you so much, my little raisin at you. And have you guys thought of the new segment that is coming on my channel? I want to give you guys hints. Should I give you a hint? Nah, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it because when it gets time to get to it, we're just gonna get to it. So without a doubt, let's get into the video. Oh, I got it started.
There's this abandoned mansion in Toronto that came up in a group chat among my friends. We saw pictures of it through a mutual friend who had recently gone to explore there. It looked immaculate based on the pictures, and we were intrigued to go check it out. It was 10 miles north from us, so the drive wasn't bad. The mansion sat on a big open grass plain, with pine trees and other foliage surrounding the perimeter of the property, acting as a natural fence or just a wall of privacy from the outside. My friends, who I'll call Chad and Brad for this story, followed close behind me as I led the way up the large gravel driveway towards the front of the unfinished house.
Oh, unfinished.
By the looks of it, construction on the structure had been abandoned when it was near completion, as the outside foundation seemed to be finished. Our mutual friend who found out about the place had told us that he hopped through a back window that was left unlocked, so that's what we looked for. The unlocked window turned out to be in the kitchen, right over the counter, so one at a time we squeezed through the window, crawling onto the counter and then down to the ground. First impressions in the kitchen, almost immaculate, minus a few of the cabinet doors sprawled out on the floor as if they had yet to be installed, and just things like sheetrock boards laying around. But everything seemed new, and it was a shame the construction was abandoned. The three of us kind of went our own directions in the house. I went towards the living room, which again was almost pristine. It was a huge room that transitioned into the dining room, and then from there, a wide hallway with at least 10 different doors. My friends were already checking out some of the rooms in this hallway. I peeped into each room and realized most of them were bedrooms. At the end of the hall was a 3-door garage. The last door in the hall before the garage was the basement. I called to Brad and Chad that I was checking out the basement. I got an acknowledgement from at least one of them.
Great night
vision. The basement
vision.
had this bizarre spiral staircase, so when I got to the bottom, I couldn't even see the door at the top. There were no windows down there, so besides my flashlight, it was pitch black.
Wow.
It was a completely unfinished basement. Pieces of drywall everywhere, unfinished wood foundation where walls should be, but the basement was huge. Like there were multiple sections down there. It was big enough to fit a basketball court and more. Then I came across this back room with a few storage containers.
Nope. Return around.
I was here to explore after all, so I curiously started lifting the lids off the containers. The first two seemed to contain building tools and supplies like wood planks.
That's a
then
body.
I heard something from one of the other containers.
It's a body.
It was like something caused the container to make a bump sound.
Nope.
Could it be an animal? Or was I just hearing things?
Someone was trapped down there.
And noticed the lid was not sealed on this one, as it wasn't sitting perfectly snug on the top. As I bent over to try and lift the lid, it lifted without me touching it. I heard a whispering noise. I fell backwards on my hands as this happened.
I don't like the
While I was on the ground, I saw a smiling woman looking at me. The only thing lifting the container up was her head. She looked at me, laughed, and said peekaboo, and she laughed some more. I ran to the top of the stairs, but the basement door was now locked. I banged on it for my friends to open it up, but they were apparently messing with me. I heard creaks on the spiral staircase below me. I couldn't see her yet, but I could hear her laughing getting closer, and she was mumbling incomprehensible things. I screamed at the top of my lungs to please help me, and Chad finally opened the door. I ran out and looked back for half a second, greeted by this ghostly, skinny figure of this pale woman looking up at me, almost at the top step. I slammed the door shut and locked it. Chad saw the woman too, and we bolted for the front door. We didn't care about leaving it open.
No.
The three of us got to the edge of the property to talk. After an hour of just sitting in my car thinking and talking, I agreed to go back inside and unlock the basement door. As scary as what I witnessed was,
I'm sorry. Because you should have died when you did that. Because why would you go back in to a haunted mansion and open up the door that you locked the... You know what? Let me not. But y'all know he dumb for that, right? Because this is true. Okay, so...
I didn't want to be responsible for someone dying down there. But when we got back inside, the basement door was wide open.
Great!
I promise you we locked that door. So
Right.
it made no sense. We once again bolted back outside towards the car and drove home, to never return to that mansion again.
That was a ghost messing with y'all. You three dumb teenage boys. Oh my God.
When I was a very young kid, we
Nice
lived in an
neighborhood.
upper middle class neighborhood.
Okay.
Lots of space between each house. All the houses on our street were very nice, but there was one abnormally large house. It was closer to a mansion. It sat right across the street from us, and my bedroom window could look across to the windows of the mansion.
No.
Since our street was incredibly low traffic, our parents let us play soccer in the street.
Oh, okay.
So my two friends, Brian and Zeke, were playing soccer one sunny day. It was usually just the three of us, so we had this kind of free-for-all version of soccer that we made up. Eventually the ball was kicked onto the property of the mansion, so I ran over to get it. When I picked up the ball, I looked at all the windows to see if the house owner was possibly witnessing me on his property. But at one of the top windows was a young boy who looked to be about our age. I hurried off the property and back to my friends. I asked them if they had ever seen the kid who lives in that mansion, and they hadn't. The second time I looked back at the window, the boy was no longer there. It wasn't for a while after that, probably a month, that I was in my room playing Nintendo. And for whatever reason, I got up to get something, and I looked out my window across to the mansion, and I saw that boy at the window again.
Stalker!
He was surely looking at me, all the way from across the street. It kind of creeped me out. I walked away from the window to ignore it. Why hadn't I ever seen that kid outside before? Come to think of it, why hadn't I ever really seen the owners of that house? I asked my parents about the boy across the street. They said they were pretty sure there was no boy in that house.
There's somebody in there looking at me.
Brian, Zeke, and I were playing in the street. We were thinking of potential fourth players to have a real game. I had an idea. I ran to the front door of that mansion and rang the bell. A 50-something-year-old woman answered. I asked if her son wanted to play soccer with us. She looked at me puzzled and said, "What son?" I replied, "The boy who was always at the upstairs window." I can't describe the look on her face besides shock and fear. She asked me what the boy looked like.
Because it's time to move
out.
out.
Description, a tear rolled down her cheek. She put her hands over her mouth. She brought me upstairs to the room where I kept seeing the boy.
Why would she do
It was a
that?
boy's bedroom. She showed me a picture of a kid and asked me if this was the boy I was seeing, and I said yes. She told me that was her 8-year-old son Charlie, who died 10 years ago. That woman living there had been alone ever since she lost her son and husband. She believed what I said because I nor my parents would have ever had any way of knowing about her son. She didn't tell me or my parents what happened to her husband or son. As sad as this all was, it was still horrifying. There was one other time I saw the boy. I was in my room, months later, and I looked out my window to the woman's mansion across the street.
Please
There he
nothing
was
pop
again,
out.
at the upstairs window. I could tell he was looking at me. I shut my blind with force and tried to forget about it. It still sends shivers up my spine when I think back on it.
Okay, that one wasn't as scary as the first one, but it still was scary. I didn't like that because I'm clenching my beer right now.
I was hired to house sit for a friend of a family friend who
House
was
is
going
just
away
getting
for
bigger.
In this case, I should call it mansion sit because the family was absolutely loaded, and the mansion sat on the rich side of town in front of a huge lake. I was 21, and it just seemed like a cool job to have for a week. The family's one rule was to throw no parties and no more than 2 guests at any time, which even that I thought was generous of them. The father's name was Benjamin, and that's the only name you'll need to know. Ben left me a list of things to keep track of every night, which included feeding the 2 cats and 2 parrots, watering the plants, among other things that really won't contribute to the story. The house was a half hour from home, so instead of just driving there and back every day, I opted to just sleep in one of the guest bedrooms, which they offered to me after all.
Why?
First day there, I got there very late, so it was a short one that got me kind of warmed up for what to expect the week ahead of me. After doing the insignificant amount of morning chores, I hopped in the pool they had in the backyard. The pool literally overlooked a gorgeous, tranquil lake, and even with the thought of getting to enjoy this unbelievable house for a week, I was still incredibly jealous. As I was in the pool, I noticed through the giant floor-to-ceiling windows to the living room somebody walking inside. I jumped out from the pool, freaking out. I ran to grab a towel and dry myself for a second before storming inside, yelling, "Excuse me." I didn't see anyone in the living room, so I entered the kitchen, and there was a fairly large Hispanic woman who looked to be about 35 to 40. She was just standing there as if waiting for me. I asked her who she was and why she was here while trying to keep myself composed and confident. She said in a thick accent that she was the maid who came every day to clean the floors and stuff. She introduced herself as Eliza. I instantly felt a sense of relief and introduced myself as Mike, the guy who was house sitting for the week. She spoke in as little words as possible. I don't think her English was too good, but she basically said she was going to clean the floors in the kitchen and living room now. I said that was completely fine and let her do her thing. I asked her how she got in the house, and she said she had her own copy of the key. So that was that. I went back out to the pool for a little longer to let her do her thing. When I got out from the pool, I dried up and took a shower. After my shower, I fed the animals again. The parrots were easier than the cats, surprisingly. I didn't see the maid again, but I didn't really want to get in her way and have awkward small talk with someone who could barely speak English anyway. I had a couple friends over that night because everyone was eager to see the place, but I respected their rules of only 2 guests at a time. I gave them the best tour I could. Then we kinda just chilled in the game room they had, played some air hockey and pool table, and drank a little bit. When I told my friends about the cleaning lady scaring the hell out of me, they both found it insanely suspicious.
I'm inviting 5
Why wouldn't Ben
friends.
have told me about the cleaning lady? They brought up a good point, so I shot Ben a text, asking about the cleaning lady.
Right!
He didn't answer right away.
Thank you!
I didn't want to call. My friends wanted to sleep over, but I didn't want to push it. I had no idea if they had cameras in the house or not. So they left,
I'm calling.
and quickly after I started getting myself ready to lay down in bed. At some point I got a text back from Ben, apologizing for taking so long, and then asking what cleaning lady, with 2 question marks and an exclamation point. I typed back, Eliza, the Hispanic woman who came by and claimed she was the cleaning lady.
See?
That's when Ben called me with a concerned voice. He got more details from me after telling me there was no cleaning lady. That was the whole reason they hired me. I felt like I had been taken for a fool.
Get out the house.
More importantly, I was terrified that I may not have been in that house alone at that very moment.
We'll talk.
Ben told me to just hide in a bedroom and that he'd call the police for me. So we hung up, and I waited in the room for the police to arrive. I had Ben on FaceTime when the police arrived, so he could also talk to them. We all looked through the house together, from top to bottom, and we didn't see anyone. I told Ben the lady said she had a spare key, but he said he was confident that that was a lie, because they never made any spare keys. He was confident she simply snuck in when I was in the pool or outside in general. After we were sure there was no one in the house, the police left, but they made sure I locked all the doors and windows before they did so. I spoke with Ben a little longer, who was very comforting, and asked I just hold down the fort and call the police if anything else should happen. We hung up, and I went to bed. I locked the door, of course. I left the air conditioner off so I could hear any potential noises from outside of the room. As I lay awake, subconsciously waiting for a noise, I heard one from under the bed.
Do I just still stay there?
A squeak on the wood floor. I hopped out of the bed and looked under it. There were two people hiding underneath. One was the lady from earlier, Eliza. The other was some man probably 10 years older than her, with his hand over her mouth. They both locked eyes with me. I screamed and I ran for the door. The moment that it took me to unlock the door and then open and shut it was more than I was comfortable with. As I did, I heard them crawling out from the bed. I ran outside to my car without my shoes and drove down the street, where I called the police, and then I called Ben again. I waited for police cars to pass, and then I followed them. Once again, searched the whole house and found no one. This time I didn't stick around for the night. Ben told me to go home and stay safe. The family booked a flight back home the next day, cutting their vacation short. The intruders were never identified. All that can be speculated is they walked in through the front door while I was in the pool because I didn't lock the door, and that they somehow knew the family would be gone. No further info is known.
So, why did you leave when you first... here's my thing. Okay, when you seen the so-called maid, okay, I'm asking for some credentials. I'm asking for how long have you been here? Why haven't I known about you? Do I need to call the owner? Why didn't the owner tell me about you? Why wasn't I notified? That would have ring-a-dinged in my head real clear right there. Let me tell you something about the friend rule, okay? I don't care. That's a mansion. It ain't no regular house. It ain't no regular, schmegular. It ain't nothing regular, all right? If you want me to mansion sit for a week, and you expect me to only have 2 friends over, and they can't stay the night, and you expect me in this big old house by myself every night to watch it with just your animals. Oh, you funny. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I was clenching my bear a lot on the first one. I didn't like that one at all. With the girl in the basement, her body in the... I knew there was a freaking body in there. I knew it. Of course it was a freaking ghost. I didn't like that one, though. I didn't like the stupidity of the 3 boys who went into the unfinished mansion in the first place. Who goes into an unfinished mansion, breaks inside of it, takes a little explore, goes in the basement? If you see a spiral staircase going into a deep, dark basement, that should be red flag number 1. Red flag number 2 is there's no windows. Red flag number 3, as soon as you get all the way down to the basement, you can't see the door up top, it's time to go. I wouldn't have went in the basement in the first place. The second story with the little boy, that one, I'm not gonna lie, was just over the top weird. Because that, to be honest, it felt more like a stalker story to me, like a horror. It felt more like a stalker, like, stop stalking me through my window. I can't call the cops on you because you're dead. Third one, I don't need to explain it again, because that one just made me mad, because there's so much stuff that he could have done. First of all, you should have called Ben, whatever his name was. You should have called the owner after you discovered the woman. Because after you discovered her and after he said, we don't have a maid, send me my check through the mail. Don't contact me ever again. I ain't with it. Thank you, Mr. Barrington. You've been a great addition to the show. I would like you guys to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Give me more videos to react to. Give me songs to sing. Give me challenges to try. Give me anything you want me to do, and I will do it. And trust me, guys, when I'm telling you I really want to do more stuff, I'm going to do more stuff. You guys probably are saying, no, she's not. Y'all know what I'm working on. Like, I'm tired of telling you guys that stuff is coming. It's still in the works. So when I tell you guys, if I'm talking about it this much, that means it's really coming soon. I love you, Ray Gang. Bye!